All right. Tweeting. Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that it auto tweets. Did you link that up? Nice. Well done, JJ. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to SQW 28. We are your ultimate favorite wrestling culture podcast. I am Dolly, the Lawnmower Man Demovsky. I've just been mowing my lawn for the last 2 hours. Joining me is John.
Back in the rock band saddle, Keo.
Nice. That's right. You were getting back into Rock Band and Rivals and all that. We'll have to might have to talk off the record about that. I'm pretty interested in hearing your thoughts. And two-time reigning champion JJ, the Beholder. I couldn't think of anything.
The Beholder.
The Beholder.
And joining us for the first time. You have one, Will, or do you want me to come up with one?
You go with it. I think you got some good energy going.
Joining us for the first time, Will the Thrill Harrison. That's my worst impression of Vince McMahon. I have to drink some coffee and clear my throat now. But Will, thank you so much for joining us this week. We now have finally a third person that knows what they're talking about in wrestling, because I sure as hell don't. So I rely on the other two gentlemen to pick me up every week. So it's great to have you on the show, Will.
I am glad to be here, and I'm glad you stole my nickname that my 8th grade history teacher gave me.
Nice!
So,
it all comes back full circle. Well, we are in cahoots. This is actually a kayfabe going on right now.
This is your life.
Yeah, exactly. The real Backlash. We've got a great show today. There's a lot of news that has been breaking over the last week or so here. We're also going to talk Backlash. Before we dive into all of that, the reason we have Will on the show is Will dominates my timeline. One of the few people that can dominate my timeline so eloquently when it comes to big wrestling events. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and whenever there's a pay-per-view, I am glued to, obviously, the other two gentlemen in the podcast, and Will, because you guys know exactly what you're talking about. So it was...
I hope that's a good thing.
Ultimately important. Yes, it is. It's important to get you on. I think it's. I'm curious to hear kind of your life story with wrestling. When did you start getting into wrestling? What are your thoughts about modern wrestling? And just tell us a little about yourself. First of all, who are you? What do you do?
So I'm Will Harrison. I'm listening to my phone vibrate at the moment, but when I'm not doing that, I am the game critic for the Toledo Blade, the daily paper in Toledo, Ohio.
Right down the road from me.
Yep. I freelance here and there. I've been in Thrillist, the Austin American Statesman recently, and Dialogue Magazine. Hold on.
You say Will the Thrillist is maybe that's the new name.
There's a haiku there, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, as for wrestling, like, it's funny because getting into wrestling was a thing that happened completely by accident when I was a kid. Like, I remember being invited to like a sleepover party to watch the 1992 Royal Rumble. I didn't know what professional wrestling was, and remember thinking like, oh, that sounds really dumb, but there's going to be pizza. Pizza's pretty good. As you do.
Strong motivator.
Yeah, and it went from there. Like, I immediately became enamored with Shawn Michaels, as all 10-year-old children do, as you're accustomed to. And it went from there. I went from recording all the pay-per-views in every episode of Raw on VHS tapes, and at one point before I moved out of my parents' house, there was just a stack of about 70 or 80 VHS tapes in like my closet that they were asking me, well, what are you going to do with these? I don't know, do you want them?
You were the WWE Network before there was WWE Network.
You never know. Like, all of humanity could have been obliterated. Nobody would know about professional wrestling, and then what we would do. It'd be awful.
Excellent.
So I've kept up since then. I've written a little bit. I've wrote and spoke on wrestling for Culture Shock, for Cage Side Seats, and recently got to interview Xavier Woods covering South by Southwest for the Statesman. So that was exciting and thrilling because it was literally the day after his sex tape thing hit. And I remember getting an email from the WWE PR rep being like, so this is just going to be a straightforward interview where you ask him some questions about the Game Award he's hosting, right? Like, yeah.
Now.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, it's good to, you've probably spoken to more professional WWE wrestlers than the rest of us. Although I can take it back. JJ has gone to several cons and he's bumped fists, and he's like knocked off he has a record of killing off wrestlers, so that's never a good sign.
Listen, only what 4 out of the 5 I've met have died. It's not.
That's a good ratio.
And Ben was on our Ben Way and side quest writer who's done wrestling, amateur wrestling before. He was on the podcast, and poor guy was in a car accident, and then he's had surgery like a week ago, getting his appendix out. So we all attribute it to you, JJ. You are the genius. Just kidding.
Listen, if you've ever been associated with professional wrestling professionally in any way, shape, or form, it's dangerous to have me get in contact with you, I guess.
Well, look, man, just stay away from Jinder Mahal, all right? You can't hinder the Jinder.
Oh, can't hinder the Jinder. I love that. We've had some good conversations about Jinder Mahal, and we'll get into
Jinder Mahal.
Jinder Mahal.
Related to Ginger Rogers.
And we'll
Famous's new gimmick.
And we'll get into that momentarily here. But I want to hear about. We're talking news right now. I want to hear a little bit about the NWA and Billy Corgan. JJ or John? Do you want to hop into this and tell us the most breakingest news out of the saga that we think has finally come to a close with TNA and everything and NWA?
You go for it, JJ. I'm a little behind on this tidbit, so you go ahead and fill me in.
It just basically, it's pretty much it at this point. Like, he has bought point. Like, with it comes that streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of the bulk of it.
He
gets the title belt.
Have any of you ever watched anything from the NWA streaming service?
Can't say I have.
Not the streaming service. No.
It's all like 1970s NWA and like deep cut Southern region NWA kind of stuff. It's not really anything you search for anyway, so there's kind of no point right now.
Stuff that you're surprised that isn't just buried on the WWE network somewhere where nobody's gonna watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some sort of weird deep cut NWA collection with never before seen matches that haven't been seen since 1976 or something. But
so if Billy has the title belt, does that mean that there is some indie fed that's now without a championship or dissolved because of all this? Or?
He doesn't physically have the title belt. He just owns the title belt. So
okay.
NWA that exists and who's ever NWA as it exists now is that whatever is his deal. It was only owned by one person who would recently against NWA anyways. Who'd been owned it for about 5 years and he just sold it off, and that's where we're at with it now. Just Billy Corgan's just the new person in that role of controlling it.
Do you think his ultimate goal is to? Yeah, I was gonna say. Do you think his ultimate goal is to get into something bigger, maybe something closer to the WWE?
Maybe not necessarily the WWE, but definitely go where he was going, how he was trying to shape TNA at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He
could go the route of sort of how TNA spawned as NWA TNA and then used the belt for a while and then became its own deal.
Yeah. We were talking about it a few weeks ago where it's like that's how, since the 90s, that's just how it's always been. WCW started off using NWA. Like TNA did it. That's just how NWA has been used since the 90s, and that's how I think Billy Corgan's going to use owning NWA. It's going to be a foot in the door to get what he wants, the wrestling organization that he wants, that he's been trying to get himself for the last 5 years or so at this point. Like, he's just it's always failed venture after failed venture for him with wrestling, and he's going to make it work come hell or high water, it seems like.
It's and we talked about this in the past. I had never known how big of a wrestling fan or promoter or anything he was up until maybe a couple of years ago, and I really started seeing him get more and more into it. But his wrestling roots run deep. I mean, I read Wikipedia entries of his ties into everything when he all the way back to him trying to get involved in reality shows and things like that. So it's pretty crazy. Billy Corgan, that's Smashing Pumpkin.
See, I think his real end goal is he's just really in an urge to like cross promote Smashing Pumpkins and start naming like events and pay-per-views after Smashing Pumpkin songs.
I love that idea.
That's the real end game here.
Just event you've ever known, kind of.
Despite all of his raids, it's just another match in a cage.
Oh man! Wow, that was really
money.
That was money. That was money in the bank. Well done.
Well, no matter what he might do, it can't be any worse than Great Balls of Fire, anyway.
Great Balls of Fire, right? Like, yeah.
I'm still waiting for Survivor Series to be replaced with Womp Baloo Bompa Womp Bam Boom.
Yeah, they're just we're just on the cusp of Johnny B. Bad.
Finally,
like,
Mark Merrill can make his return.
Hall of Fame 2018 is going to be.
He's just going into public domain song titles now, right? And just picking everything up. He's like, coming up January 14th, happy birthday.
See, I still like the original theory that Great Balls of Fire is really actually a Southpaw regional wrestling pay-per-view.
God.
They're not telling anybody yet.
That would be fantastic.
Just go tune in, and Lance Catamaran's just going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, Cena did say that there is more Southpaw coming.
I know, it's so exciting.
It's great. It's great. Well, let's move on.
Like a legit one-off event.
An event, yeah. I would totally pay that's the kind of thing where I would consider flying out for, just to see the spectacle of it.
But only if there's 13 people in the crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
For it to feel canonically accurate, it has to be in a high school gymnasium. Like that's
and one of those 13 people needs to be a goat.
One of the 13 people needs to be a goat. Yep. It's like that scene in what is it? Not Borat, but the other Sacha Baron Cohen movie, Bruno, where he's the men's wrestling, and it's like dudes on dudes, and it's just like Southern, Southpaw wrestling, and it's like 15 people in a high school gymnasium. Well, I mean, I'm sure hopefully we'll see more of Southpaw wrestling. Speaking of which, but let's move on. Next bit of themed wrestling, I guess we could call it, is the trailer broke for Glow. The first trailer for Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, for those of us that grew up in the 80s, remember it, which was a fantastic TV show to watch on, I think it was it Saturday nights or Sunday nights or Friday nights? I can't quite remember, on like public access television. But we had, I think we mentioned in a previous episode that there was a movie or some type of show being developed on it. We didn't know quite what it was, but this first trailer reveals that it's essentially, well, John, why don't you tell us essentially what it is?
Well, it's kind of a look behind the scenes of how the show came together over the course of a new series. It's from the makers of Orange is the New Black. And I think it was Alison Brie is the lead. Is she? Yeah, she is the center of character in the formation of Glow, and all the wacky other ladies who join up with that fit. It looks pretty good. Unconventional actors, yeah.
Alison Brie is Ruth Wilder.
I think Awesome Khan is in this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I believe Alex Riley is involved in some way too. Former NXT wrestler Alex Riley.
Yep, Alex Riley's in there.
Oh, okay.
Former Ms. Briefcase Carrier.
You have to have something to do when you're not working at the used car shop, I guess.
But they have essentially the trailer. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. It's set in the 80s in LA with Ruth Wilder, the actress. She gets basically an invitation to audition for what she thinks is a movie or a show, and then comes to find out it's a professional wrestling promotion called the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. So I think there's that scene in there where she's like, wait a minute, this isn't a movie, this is wrestling. So I thought that was great. I love Orange is the New Black. I have a feeling that my wife will actually get into this because of the way that it seems to be shot, which is very similar to Orange is the New Black, which could work out really well for the show. And it could bring a whole new audience to this type of, wrestling pop culture, because we talked about Lucha, right? That's completely different than what WWE is doing.
Right.
And there were other stuff that we had mentioned as well. But we had talked, how could wrestling become even more mainstream than it already is? Well, this is kind of a way to do it, right? Southpaw is almost like the WWE's just try something and see if it works. And Glow, I think, is maybe it's in that vein as well, where a fantastically
one of those things where like somebody who's like was growing up in the 80s or whatever is gonna boot up Netflix and see Glow and like, oh yeah, when I was a teenager that came on at 11 o'clock on Saturday nights. Like,
is this the NES Classic Mini of Netflix and wrestling?
Yeah, it's just gonna be a nostalgia thing all of a sudden, and hopefully it's that's sort of the end game. Like, get people interested in wrestling would help a lot, like.
Yeah, it's an interesting point in time where Southpaw is obviously parody and definitely going for the laughs. I mean, this one seems like it'll be funny, but it's certainly trying to capture a moment, stretch in time.
It looks like it holds. It looks like it holds some sort of reverence for Glow. Like it's not just making fun of Glow. Like it actually sort of like shows some sort of care and appreciation for what that company was back in the day. So that's good.
Makes me think of like a wrestling version of Studio 30 on the Sunset Strip.
It's just,
and we talked last week, I think it was, that the Vince McMahon biopic seems like it may not happen, or Linda McMahon doesn't have a lot of faith in it actually coming to completion. So that was something that we were all kind of looking forward to, I guess, in a way, because it was more of an in-depth look at wrestling. But there's still the Ric Flair. Was it the 30 for 30 or the Ric Flair thing is coming?
For the hell,
I mean,
they've already had a trailer for it.
It didn't help that in the style of Mr. Burns, Vince wanted to play himself.
Yes, correct. Excellent.
That was the best take we could get.
Yeah. So Glow, definitely check out that trailer. When's the release date for that? I know it's this year sometime. I didn't see an actual date attached to it, but some point, June 23rd. First season is June 23rd. Oh, that's perfect, right before the Independence Day holiday here in the States and in Canada. All right. So it's a good time to binge watch. There you go, June 23rd. Get ready for it. Another bit of news: Jim Ross is gonna be doing a WWE, NXT. He's going to be doing announcing. He's going to be working, joining the NXT takeover with Nigel McGuinness, and they're going to be handling this coming weekend. How does that?
I think he had that switched around. I think he's doing the voiceover on the UK special.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yes,
he's also going to be doing commentary on the UK title match at NXT. Just the done bait match.
Oh, so you were sort of right, Dally.
Sort of right.
Kind of.
Right. His tweet was nebulous. I think it's great. I mean, especially everything he had been through recently with his wife, and
completely. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever going to say no to Jim Ross coming back and not only doing wrestling, but doing basically what is considered like the good wrestling, for lack of a better definition in WWE. Yeah. I'm excited to see him paired with Nigel. I'm excited to see him do some commentary where he can get some prep work and maybe not get handcuffed by his producers a little bit. It's good news all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't argue with you. I think it's always good to see. I mean, JR was one of those guys that so he came over from the WCW, right, to the WWE, and I remember when that happened. He brought a very different style of announcing than what we were accustomed to with Bobby Heenan and all the typical WWF, Gorilla Monsoon and Mean Gene every once in a while. And so this was very cool. His style was very good, and his style is very good. And he brings a little bit more of a passion and not as much flamboyant acting, I guess you could say. So he does a great job at it. And I think he helped kind of launch a lot, or he helped kind of lead this new style of announcing, where it's more off the cuff. It's more about letting your own personal expressions shine through, your personalities come through, rather than something that's overly scripted as an announcer. So
Totally.
Yep.
Like
good.
You have say you with the like you listen to an old like Attitude Era, whatever, late 90s WWF, any WWE, anything with Jim Ross, and then compare it immediately on the WWE network with something with like Bradshaw or like like it's just like like you can tell Vince McMahon yelling in somebody's ear every second.
Yeah,
like
it's very jarring
like
to hear it. I think the big
like you could
there.
tell that sure Jim Ross was getting led by Vince McMahon, but Jim Ross was able to his way as opposed to just parroting back what Vince McMahon is saying in his ear, as opposed to basically everyone else is just parodying. Just Vince McMahon said this is what I'm going to say. There's no character involved. Unless you're Bradshaw, who just doesn't care.
I think the big difference you notice now, and it's a stark difference, especially for me, because I've just recently been going back and plowing through every single Monday Night Raw in chronological order. Back in the day, even the lesser guys like Kevin Kelly and Michael Cole when he was starting, it felt more like commentating, like an outsider's perspective on this crazy series of events that were happening around them that was the television show. Anymore, it feels like the role of the commentator is almost like a Disney parks like tour guide.
Yeah,
you're getting spouted mannerisms and promotions at you, and they're more there to like keep people in the loop for this magical person who has never watched wrestling before that seems to tune in, that they gear things towards. So it's nice to get back to basics, because that's definitely what JR brings to it.
It's definitely like that on a week to week on the regular television show, where they're spoon feeding that new viewer. You're absolutely right. And pay-per-view kind of gets away from that a little bit more, but definitely on Raw and SmackDown. Here you go.
It comes across more as narration than it does commentary.
Yeah,
like
that's a good way of describing it. Narration. It makes it really hard. Like, I don't know if that viewer they think who is just like randomly tuning in has never seen anything about wrestling. Is like, what's this all about? I don't know if that person actually exists, but man, if they do, they probably feel like
that was you in '92, right?
I guess. I don't know if I was listening to the commentary as like an 8-year-old. I think I was more interested in like how the big tall guy was throwing the guy with a dog on his butt over the top rope. Oh wait, he didn't go over the top rope. And then Goldust.
And Goldust, yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
Let's dive into. Was there any other news that you guys wanted to cover? There was one little bit of news that popped up, and that was related to SmackDown Live's ratings hitting a record low for the year.
Yeah, I was looking at that just as I was getting over here. It dropped down to, I think they said near a 2.1, which is as low as SmackDown ratings have been since they were on the Sci-Fi Channel. That's when you know things are real bad. And I think it just has to be purely related to the fact that there's nothing compelling on the main event side of the show right now. Jinder Mahal is not a name that's going to draw people in at the moment, especially when you look into the fact that was clearly supposed to be Rusev's spot and he wasn't going to be around. And I guess your evil foreigners are just completely interchangeable at this point. But at the same time, is Randy Orton a compelling champion at this point to anybody?
I was going to say that very thing. I'm not even sure Randy Orton can save that show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he had not only with the Brave feud, there's a whole lot of momentum going in there, especially with that blow off.
Yeah. The show feels really rudderless right now, and I think that has shown in why things like the Fashion Files has stood out as being so good, because it's in comparison to the rest of the show. And at least talking smack, it just doesn't feel like anybody's trying. Like, man, the crowds were so quiet during. I hate to harp on Jinder again. Like, it's not his fault. He's a guy put into a situation. He's going to make the best of it. But man, the crowd was so quiet that you could hear the air conditioners while he was pausing in between his promo lines. That's bad.
It was bad. Yeah, it was real noticeable. Like, especially this week, like you could just feel the sort of
apathy
from the crowd. Like, it's just like it was just a vacuum of heat. Like you know, it's
The absence. of
I
heat.
don't know.
It's going
It's
to be
like
real
when-
interesting. I think part of it may also be that there's a lot of shows coming, shows on other networks coming to their season finales. You had Arrow, I'm sorry, Flash, Supergirl, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There was basketball and hockey on.
Sports.
There's a lot of sports on. So I think it that maybe has something to do, but I think you guys are right. I mean, there isn't as much compelling right now.
Well, the superstar shakeup didn't help either. I mean, as much as I'm pretty sure SmackDown would be able to rebuild, some of the momentum that they lost with Miz taking off and Ambrose and several others that they managed to bring to a pretty high level from mid-card status. But now they're back to the drawing board, and without Orton having a whole lot of momentum coming out of that Bray feud, it's pot's pretty cold at the moment.
By the way, you are frozen on the screen, John, and it's it's crazy watching you.
I was wondering if it was just me that saw that.
No, it's,
Yeah, like I know my computer's not the best, so that.
The
that's
WWE
probably just
did
me.
not
Can you
like
hear my voice though?
yeah, we can hear your voice. Yeah,
Yeah.
WWE did not like you talking about it that way, and so they've frozen you. This is all Vince McMahon.
That is your punishment.
That's your punishment. It may be worth turning your camera off. Did you try turning your camera off? Turning it on?
I don't know.
But
Well,
It's the day off of SmackDown getting that whole like Universal is throwing behind all of their support in the SmackDown. Like they're going to be testing out that new during the commercial breaks on SmackDown. They're going to do split screen so you don't miss the match while the commercials are airing. And
See, they did that once, and I liked it, and then they never did it again. It was really weird.
So when they do that, do they have to kind of book the matches a little bit differently because
they're going to have to, because if you go to a live show, you immediately know when the commercial break's going, because like it'll be rest holds and like everyone just trying not to get hurt for 3 minutes while the commercial break starts or whatever. So, when it was like a taped SmackDown originally, you could just sort of run out a whole match and cut and choose how you felt. But now that it's live,
or they may just not care. I mean, back when they were still doing this on the WWE app, they were showing you like the matches in between commercial breaks. They just let it go as normal. So maybe it's just like a fun insider view thing. I don't know.
Maybe
the boring stuff that happens, like they cut the commercial break when they just threw him to the outside, and now he's just leaning up against the barricade for 90 seconds while he gets his breath back, waiting for the commercials to come back.
No, it's like witness all the majesty of being at a house show without having to hear a 12-year-old kid scream about where John Cena is.
He's right there.
No, Johnny, he's not here tonight because John Cena's dead.
But it's going to be interesting. I'm curious. So when does it start? When do they kick this off?
Did they say?
They didn't say. It's just happening.
Okay, it'll just start. It'll appear one of these days. So good. Well, that's
it's the upfront stuff.
Yeah.
Next season.
Yeah, next season. Let's move on to Backlash, because I think that's a great way to kind of close out this episode for this week. And then
Backlash, sponsored by Rocket League, an award-winning game.
Yes. By the way, speaking of which, did you see on was it at SmackDown or Raw? And of course, there's always video game related signs show up, but there was the GameStop side questing contributor at one point, Ben Pack. He's recently joined GameSpot with Abby. I don't have her name, but and there was a sign in the back of during one of the promos. There's a
I saw that.
There's it. Welcome to GameSpot.
I'm in the Giant Bomb Facebook group, and they were super excited. They were super excited when it got posted.
Very cool. It's awesome. It's always a neat.
They pop up a lot though. Like I feel like every other pay-per-view, there's a Dan Reichert sign in the crowd somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there always is a Dan Reichert sign.
Dan Reichert's head is constantly on my TV screen, and I don't know why.
He brings his own
at every game.
When he does the show.
Yeah.
So.
Let's move on to Backlash right now. We'll make our predictions. As always, we go through these line item by line item, make our selection, and try to come up with a tiebreaker. I'm not 100% sure what the tiebreaker will be this this week. I'll try to come up with them by the end. If you can think of one, feel free to let me know. There are 8 matches. Because Will is a guest this week, I think maybe the way we'll do it is we'll set it up as if Will happens to win, then the guests own the title. And we have to win it.
He's going to be the Brock Lesnar of our thing.
The part-timer.
No, I'm the vacant.
You'll be the vacant one. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's go through the list right now. I will, we'll start talking about who we think is going to win. There are a few matches. This is a SmackDown aligned pay-per-view. We'll start with the kind of the opening match, which is Ty Dillinger versus Aiden English. It's a singles match. So what are your predictions for Ty versus Aiden? Let's start with you, Will, since you are the guest this week.
That's a squeaker, ain't it? I have no idea who's gonna win that. I have no idea. Yeah, I'm glad to see Ty on TV again. He hasn't been on TV for 2 weeks now. Man, as the last WWE member of the Guerrero family, you'd think Aiden English would get a better deal than crying on cue on TV, but he's on TV and they're doing something, so I'm happy for him. Yeah. Dillinger, as long as he keeps winning, I'm happy. It doesn't matter if he's just beating up jobbers week to week. Just let him do that. I'm cool with it. I will gladly keep supporting Ty. So he'll win.
Let him slowly build it up. I totally agree with you. I think Ty is
he's so good.
He's good. Yeah, he's good. He's good for the brand. He's one of the guys that's good. He's slowly working his way. And let him keep beating up those guys, the jobbers and Aiden, obviously. John, what do you think?
I think Aiden English needs to shave that beard and first off, but I'll give you 10 predictions, and the first 9 don't count. Yeah, it's Ty all the way.
Yep.
Finish get Aiden a spray tan.
Yeah, exactly. JJ, are you in alignment with us?
Yeah, it's Ty.
Yeah, it's Ty. He's like, why even ask me? Just that means none of us. I can just scratch that all the way across. So. Let's move on to the next one. I have. Let's go with Luke Harper versus Eric Rowan. Will, who do you think's got this one?
My Mark angriness wants me to say Luke Harper's going to win because Luke Harper deserves all the good things because Luke Harper is the best. And I love Brody. The dirty truck stop thing worked back in the day. He looks great. The guy's in the best shape of his career, especially coming off such a terrible injury. But he's also real good at putting people over in a Dolph Ziggler style, and especially after last night on Talking Smack. I don't know if you guys saw it, but they finally debuted Eric Rowan's clown-esque gimmick. It seems to be building towards something. Cut a really great promo. I was excited to see what he gave, and really good creepy atmosphere. He speaks eloquently. He knows how to talk in that tone. So I'm going to say Eric Rowan wins in another cheating to win.
All right, you say Eric Rowan. How about you, John?
This feels like an Eric Rowan build match. This really is the sort of build this character. So I think a win.
The internet aliens are jumping onto you there.
Oh God, Transformers.
The Transformers have infiltrated you.
Yeah, I'll interpret. He picked Eric Rowan.
He picked Eric Rowan. Yeah, exactly. John, who do you think?
Well, Luke Harper didn't get featured on Talking Smack. I think Eric Rowan wins this by some dirty cheating, and I think he pulls something else out of that bag that's not a mask and bonks him over the head. If I can be more specific on my prediction.
He's going to pull Crazy Steve out of that bag and hit Luke Harper with Crazy Steve.
Could be.
We are really boring because I am also choosing Eric.
See, here I thought I was going with the Rebel pick by taking Rowan there.
No, not at all. No, trendsetter. Yeah, exactly. You are the trendsetter, exactly. Up next, let's take a look at Sami Zayn.
Who?
Versus Baron. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, versus Baron Corbin.
Is that a wrestling man?
Is that a wrestling dude?
That's mean because I love Sammy, but man, if there was ever a guy on the roster, even back in NXT and even now, they don't know what to do with him. They wanted to be Daniel Bryan, but they clearly didn't know why Daniel Bryan was so popular. So they make him
still don't.
Yeah, wears plaid pants, dance to your ska, and then get punched by dudes bigger than you because that's what you do. You're Sami Zayn. So, and honestly, I hate to say it, like Corbin needs the win more because SmackDown has a severe lack of believable heels. And Jinder Mahal, the Maharaja Awful, is not going to solve that. So, Corbin.
All right. JJ, who do you pick? Corbin. All right.
Yeah.
John.
I'm gonna go contrarian this time. I'm gonna pick Sammy.
How dare you go against the group think?
You know
I have
what?
my own mind, man.
This is why the Challenger exploded.
I am going to leech onto your mind as well. I'm also picking Sammy.
The split.
The split. We finally have some changes taking place. Finally. Shinsuke versus Dolph.
Gee.
Yeah.
You know what? It would be such a WWE/Vince thing to have all this build up, make a big deal about Shinsuke's first match in WWE, and have Ziggler go out there and win by like a pull of the tights or something.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just be modern WWE in a nutshell?
Nakamura slips on the banana peel when he loses.
Yeah.
And then somebody throws a rice bowl at him because Vince thinks that's comedy. Nakamura wins. Dolph Ziggler continues to do what he does, and that's lose real good.
Yeah. The person he lost, he looked really good.
I take that's you're also picking Shinsuke, JJ.
Maybe we should get him these thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yeah, just thumbs up and thumbs down from JJ. John.
Yeah, Nakamura. Yeah, that's the lock of the week right there.
Yeah, I can't argue that. Just there were some good clips I was watching. Some good clips. No, there was just some of the stuff that's kind of taken place over the last couple of weeks. You could tell the build up is right there for Shinsuke. And I think we even talked about it last week a little bit, and how Dolph is literally just he's there to just prop up Shinsuke. So
no, it's time to start the slow and steady march towards I hope AJ versus Nakamura, which if they don't give me, I will be forced to set the Talking Smack set on fire.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. SmackDown Women's Champion Naomi with Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch versus Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina in a 6-woman tag team match.
Oh, I'm so sleepy.
This is one we just they couldn't. Seems like they had no idea what to do with the women for this pay-per-view, and they just throw them all together.
Isn't that the SmackDown Women's division, though?
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't know. Put them all out there. Let's just see what happens. I don't know. Maybe Carmella should win another match because she's a wrestler, right?
Mm.
To take this seriously and in the effort of expanding storylines and keep things going, I'm going to say the Welcoming Committee wins because it makes way more sense for Charlotte to be angry over a loss and use that as further motivation to eventually win the SmackDown title from Naomi, who is... Man, I like her entrance, but an entrance does not a wrestler make.
John, who do you think?
I'm going to go with the committee as well. I think. Well, I don't know if Charlotte will turn on the goody two shoes or not, but they. Whether on Talking Smack last night, they made a point to say that they have to win against the committee in order for them to move on and continue their feud, Naomi and Charlotte. And I don't think that matters. So I think that feud will continue on no matter what. So yeah, I'm going to go with the committee because they need the heat.
Okay, JJ.
Welcoming Committee.
Okay. Look how everything is just shorter now for JJ.
He spent the entire time thinking about how short of a response he could get in while still getting his answer.
Well, for the heck of it, then I'm going to pick Naomi, Charlotte, and Becky. Just to play spoiler.
Turncoat.
All right, we have 3 more matches left. I think this is where things get a little bit more difficult per chance to determine. The Usos versus Breezango. Usos are the current tag team champions.
Well, I mean, day one is H, so...
Day one is H.
And I love Breezango. Tyler Breeze deserves all of the titles. And whoever thought that scumbag Johnny Curtis would ever be this entertaining? I mean, I've been watching old NXT recently. It's just like, oh, man, that guy became something. But
Yep.
it's weird because the Usos, I don't remember the last time the Usos actually wrestled on TV. Certainly not the last time they defended the belts, if they have at all.
They've-
I'm going to say the Usos win with some cheating. That way you can continue this a little bit because right now the tag team division is just a holdover until the New Day decide they get bored of dance around India and want to come back.
Sure. Okay.
So Usos.
John?
My brain says the Usos. My heart says Breezango. So I'm going to follow my heart in this one.
Okay.
Now I think they'll win and probably lose it back in short order. But I think for the feels it'll be Breezango.
JJ?
So they're so hot right now.
They are. They're yeah. All of a sudden, just these last
So
couple
hot
weeks
right now.
blowing up. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I am 100% with John on this one.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be the exact same thing. Win it, then lose it real quick.
Whoa, your Transformers are gone. Whatever it was,
Hey,
you
the internet
vanquished
gets
them.
real bad here sometimes.
Out in the boondocks of the West Coast. I am also going to choose Breezango for that exact same reason. I think they're going to win it and lose it right away, but it'll potentially catapult them up even higher than they're going right now. Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles. KO is the U.S. champ.
I think it behooves WWE to keep the title on Kevin Owens for as long as possible. Not only is it an integral part of his gimmick now, and I really enjoy seeing his face projected on the walkway and him avoiding stepping on his own face now, which if you haven't checked that out every time.
I'm going to see that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a good match. They've performed well in the past, certainly outside of WWE. AJ Styles is bulletproof at this point. You know, they could have him lose to James Ellsworth and it'd be fine. But, I mean, that's never happened. So, you know. So I'm going to say Kevin Owens.
Okay.
Wins clean.
JJ?
They have so much built into U.S. champion Kevin Owens that I just feel like it's 100% Kevin Owens match on this one. So
It does
I'm going
feel
with
like
Kevin.
it's they've put a lot into him since WrestleMania, and I mean there was that when they were doing kind of the superstar mix-up thing, he made a big deal about being the champ and all that kind of stuff. So I think I think you're onto that. I'm also going to pick KO from my standpoint as well for that reason. John?
Yeah, we just talked about
Man, this is the most boring.
Well, we just talked about how there's no credible heels on SmackDown. So if anyone's going to be a credible heel, it's going to be KO, and he needs the win. He needs it bad.
Yeah. Okay.
So you might need a tiebreaker pick.
I think we will. I think we will. Well, let's go with first. Let's finish with Randy versus Jinder.
You know, this is another case where I'm just like, wouldn't it be such a WWE thing to put the title on Jinder Mahal after he's won more matches in the last 3 weeks than he's won in his entire non-NXT career? Like this past Tuesday when he beats AJ, and even though it wasn't clean, I was just like, yep, that was a thing. That happened. But I think they're clearly hedging their bets for something bigger, maybe even Rusev and Orton, which as boring as that sounds, is still a better matchup. So either there's going to be a disqualification here or something, but Orton's going to retain the title.
Hey, that's not an answer.
Does that not count? It's not right in WWE BS and that count. Okay, fine. I'm going to say then that Orton wins.
Okay. JJ.
About 2 weeks ago, I was actually super convinced that WWE was just going to go for it with Jinder Mahal. SmackDown ratings being the lowest they've ever been kind of situation.
Keep digging that hole.
You're digging yourself, but to be the contrarian on this whole thing, I'm going to say Jinder gets the win. I don't know how he gets the win. He may not even get the title, but I'm going to say Jinder gets the win.
John, who do you pick?
Jinder gets the win. Yeah, I was going to make that case as well. I don't think he'll win the title, but it's the main event of a kind of a throwaway pay-per-view. How far are we away from the next SmackDown pay-per-view anyway? That's 2 months, right? So
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
So,
It's a long time.
It's a long time. Oh.
How low can the ratings get?
Yeah, how low can the ratings get? Because if Jinder wins and doesn't win the belt, that continues things. He'll have a case to make that I get a rematch.
Saying that it has to take place on the pay-per-view either. I mean, the WWE may just kill some time with it.
Oh God, Soundwave Transformers returned.
Soundwave has returned.
He has opinions about wrestling, guys. Watch out.
Apparently. John, have you come to your decision?
I have one question.
Yeah.
When is Rusev actually due to come back? He said, I'm coming back for the title at something.
Money in the Bank.
That is Money in the Bank. So he's going to be the
June
challenger
18th.
for sure. Okay. Orton
Until then, he has playoff hockey tickets.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's true.
It's 2 months away. I think. Yeah, it's going to be Orton. It'll be Orton versus Rusev. So, oh god, they can't do a title switch and then switch it back quickly on this one too. Orton wins. Hope the obvious.
Okay. All right. Whew, this one. I thought I was in JJ's corner here. I thought, maybe they actually had something going with Jinder here. There or some weird kind of push with Jinder after they brought him over, and I thought, maybe there could be something. No, there's nothing. I lost all feeling over the last week and a half for Jinder. It died. The crowd hasn't been into it, at least not that I've seen. So I'm gonna go with Randy, and I think that's gonna set up that Rusev Money in the Bank. So.
Yeah, I don't think this is it for Jinder. I think Jinder has impressed.
Oh right, yeah.
I think he's impressed enough that he might get another shot or something down the line. Once they, I think I said it on the show before. I think they could set Jinder up to be the next, JBL type character in terms of having an entourage that would help him win matches all the time and try to build his heat up. I don't think they want to shotgun the belt on him the way they did JBL at that time.
Right.
Yeah. Scare away commentators from SmackDown.
That's right.
Yeah, potentially. There you go. And have lawsuits.
But I think he'll have a strong showing.
Okay, yeah, and that could be a good way to at least set them up, like you said. They could have a more substantial push post Backlash. Well, to get a tiebreaker, I think Will Rob will get an idea, which was the NXT. So I'm going to read off. There are 5 matches. Each of us are allowed to pick. Oh, this is going to be tough. Man, I was thinking of each of us pick one match and pick the winner, but all of us could be wrong, which wouldn't do anything for us. Let's just do that. I'll let all of us pick one match. I'll read the matches here, and then you pick the winner of that match. And if you're correct, great. If you're not, sorry. So Will gets to go first. I'll read the matches though. Bobby Roode versus Hideo Itami. Asuka versus Ruby Riott versus Nikki Cross. Authors of Pain versus DIY. Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne. And Roderick Strong versus Eric Young. So Will pick a match and pick the winner.
I'm going to go with Pete Dunne taking the UK title from Tyler Bate. It's Pete Dunne's time. He's Triple H's boy. They want to get him away from Progress ASAP, I assume. As fun as it's been seeing the Progress title pop up in a WWE ring, I think they're ready to make the move when done. And out of the UK guys, besides, I would say Wolfgang, I think he's the most WWE ready. Makes sense to me. And he's a phenomenal wrestler and a type of heel that WWE hasn't had in a while, I think. So it's time to put him over.
Yeah. And he's freaking awesome.
And he's freaking awesome.
He's just the best.
All right, John, you can pick any of the other matches. You can't pick that one. But again, the remaining matches are Bobby Roode versus Hideo Itami, Asuka versus Ruby Riott versus Nikki Cross, Authors of Pain versus DIY, and Roderick Strong versus Eric Young.
I'm going to say Bobby Roode retains.
Bobby Roode retains. All right. That's the one I was leaning towards as well, but you got it. JJ, you can pick from Asuka versus Ruby Riott versus Nikki Cross, Authors of Pain versus DIY, or Roderick Strong versus Eric Young.
I'll do Authors of Pain DIY.
Okay, who do you have the winner on that one? Authors of Pain?
Authors of Pain. Yep.
All right. Okay. Either he's learning to speak very quickly, or it's compressing the time of the this for JJ speaking. And I'll pick. I'm gonna stay away from that the triple threat match because I'm never good at those. So I will pick Roderick Strong defeating Eric Young.
Seems
All
like a
right.
safe bet.
Yeah, it's a safe bet. Okay, so those are our picks. I have them here. You can, if you've been listening and watching, you know it. I'm not going to actually even look at this until after pay-per-view. So we'll discuss on the next episode. But with that said, we've plugged in here at an awesome hour's worth of wrestling talk. In I believe in an upcoming episode, we're going to start looking at wrestling movies. I think our task will be to put together a list here maybe over this next week. If you have any suggestions, feel free to tweet them at us. Contact us. You can find us on sidequesting.com. Please, yada, rate, review us. Do all that fun stuff. You can also, actually, if you have the Amazon Alexa, of course, I say Alexa and everybody's Alexa. Alexa, download Podbean. If you have the Podbean skill for Alexa, you can listen to us through that. So that's always an extra avenue for listening to the show. So yes, find us everywhere: iTunes, Google Play. I think we're up there now as well. You can find us individually. You can find me at Dolly Demovsky. JJ, where can they find you?
_double_J.
And wherever the Transformers are, last night you'll find JJ. John, where can we find you, bud?
At John Keogh, spelled JONKEHOE.
And Will, where can we find you?
On Twitter at double the word, the letter U, and Harrison, altogether, W Harrison, and every other week in the Toledo Blade or on www.toledoblade.com in the Game On column.
Excellent. I will link that up.
Link it
up. Excellent. Will, thank you so much for joining us this week. It's been awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you for tolerating my cynicism.
No, it was brilliant. We will definitely have to have you back on again. John, JJ, thank you for surviving the Decepticons. maybe surviving. John, thank you for surviving being a statue for about 12 minutes there.
No problem. Glad I can come back from that.
And I survived all three of you somehow. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you all on the next SQW.
Bye, Soundwave.